You and 10,000 of your closest friends can siege a castle in Anvil Empire. Then the wheel turns, history repeats, and capitalism tries to tell you what you can and can't play. After that, join Ryu and Scott Hayabusa, also known as Kenji, tackle demons and my finger dexterity in Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Finally, we take a novel commendation system for video games and discuss the core problems with video game metas.
Hi, I'm Nick, and to quote a legend, meta this, meta that. You ever met a girl?
Hi, I'm Josh, and my jeans are missing a button.
And I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango. Well, look at that. Oh,
It's Mom Spaghetti.
Oh, okay.
We're back.
Now I'm hungry.
Speaking of Mom Spaghetti, this is a video game podcast. Welcome, everybody. Hey, check us out. Nick.
Hi, it's me. Have you ever yearned for the trenches? Welcome to a video game podcast.
Welcome to the Video Game Podcast.
Okay, children yearn for the mines. What do middle-aged men yearn for? Rome and trenches, right?
Yeah.
We want an escape from reality where horror can be fun, right? A game I've been following for quite a while that I have yet to play, but I would really like to, is Foxhole. Foxhole is described as, quote, a massively multiplayer game where thousands of players shape the outcome of a persistent online war. Every individual soldier is a real player that contributes to the war effort through logistics, base building, reconnaissance, combat, and more. It is sitting at very positive reviews on Steam after 40,000 reviews, and it was released 3 years ago. It is set in a quasi-World War II setting, where if you want to be able to shoot your gun, you better hope another player is using a manufacturing position to create bullets, then another player loads into a cargo truck, which then another player then drives to the front line so you can fire your gun. It is persistent PvP a la Planet Side, but it is a top-down view, more akin to Baldur's Gate 3 style controls that relies on literally thousands of people in a single instance, all contributing to a 24/7 real-time one-to-one PvP match. Foxhole's great. I love it. I watched a lot of content on it. And recently I found out, a little too late to do the stress test, that Siege Camp, the developer and publisher, is creating a medieval version called Anvil Empires. Also described as a massively multiplayer game where thousands of players work together to build empires, wage war, and conquer in a persistent online world. This looks like they're taking a lot of lessons they've learned from Foxhole and applying it to this new style, which I am very titillated to review. Persistent PvP is one of those dragons I've always chased. Anybody who's played Alterac Valley and old school World of Warcraft days knows the feeling of slugging it out after hours and hours in combat and then going to bed and waking up and the battle is still going. That is a feeling that only very specific video games can provide you. Right. It is not a common game most people play. This is not a game that everyone is going to enjoy. But if you're watching on screen, every single person there you see is a real life player. This one set in a quasi-medieval world is going to have 3 factions of which you can join, and the world starts pretty much as barren wilderness. As players group together, they can build little towns and huts and villages and start up a small community. And as more and more players join, they can gather resources, create logistics lines, make sure that everyone's gathering the stuff they need to eventually build an entire castle, not like place it down as a pre-made prop, but building the walls and the trenches and the fortifications and the maculations and the crenellations and all that, a piece at a time. Trebuchets and catapults and siege towers need to be manned by 2, 4, 8 players all working in unison. Players using shields can form literal shield walls, of which the game mechanics gives you a rating based off how well you're staying in formation to give you defensive benefits. People can raise and train and ride horses to create cavalry units, literally fighting battles with thousands of players at the same time. Persistent games like this have been an utter bugbear for multiplayer servers for a long time. And if anyone's played PlanetSide, you know that it goes amazingly well when it goes amazing and poorly when it goes poorly.
Yeah.
But to see that Siege Camp, the developer and publisher, has not only succeeded with Foxhole, but are attempting to make a second game in a similar vein, is extremely exciting. I love cooperation, and there's no more cooperation I like more than cooperation when it comes to PvP. If you want your competitive one-on-one, mano-a-mano stuff, there's thousands of games out there for that. If you want to be roaring over chat with hundreds of other players in real time, reforming phalanxes and flanking and calling out that you need more supplies, these are the kinds of games you want to play. They attract a devout and loyal following of people who are generally pretty non-toxic based off the type of game it is. And I'm just so looking forward to getting to try it for myself. Anvil Empires did recently have a stress test, I think, during Next Fest. It is not available to play right now. There is no release date, but it is clearly coming along, and I would predict a release date at the very soonest by the end of the year, probably next year. But if this kind of game does strike your fancy, Foxhole's there. It's $30. If it's the kind of game you like, you're more than going to get your money out of the playtime out of it, price per hour. We're watching a team of people using a battering ram against a shield formation right now. It's like a last-ditch attempt to enter a castle. It's amazing. But yeah, no, this is the kind of game that is right up my alley. And I'm excited to keep track of it and see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm really digging the theme that I'm watching, and I'm seeing some of the chaos, like utter chaos that's happening here, and this looks really appealing to my sensibilities.
I mean, Josh mentioned the other week about playing Hold Fast, which is a game similar in vein. Yeah, Hold Fast is first person. You're not building castles, but you are working together and stay in formation in colonial or Civil War era times. But yeah, this is that taken to the nth degree, right? You're watching people place siege ladders on towers, and there's 24 men there trying to break this down. It's very reminiscent of what Bannerlord attempted to do in their multiplayer. But by nature of it being so far removed third person, I think it really intrinsically lends itself to requiring you to rely on your allies, right? You can't just be the no-scoper 360ing everybody because you're just one soldier amongst many, and that breeds cooperation, because if you don't, you will fail, right? Communication is key. Logistics are key. Having a plan and being able to pivot is key, which means you need people in a chain of command telling you what to do. Yeah, I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think this perspective makes all the difference for me, because the third person and first person perspectives that I see most of these games, it's not that attractive to me because it leads to I'm the hero guy.
Yeah. Where
this is a battlefield. This is not this doesn't turn into one-on-one.
Yeah.
It's very clear that there might be smaller skirmishes within a battle, but it really seems like it lends itself to cooperative play.
Yeah. I wish you guys, if you have the opportunity, Josh, Andy, everybody listening, watch this video again, but with the volume on. You can hear the voice chat. You can just hear the level of enjoyment and excitement people have as they're all calling out to one another and joking and laughing and screaming. And
this looks like it looks like something that you could take extremely seriously, or something that you could have just a lot of fun with.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just because you would be having a lot of fun with it because of the level of immersion you're getting.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point in the video, they cut between a battle scene and a guy hauling wood with a donkey.
I mean, the wood's got to get to the front
line
somehow,
right? That makes sense. It's crazy.
Gamers, I think, have gotten more and more used to the idea of loss in PvP with the advent of things like PUBG and Rust and Ark and things of that nature, where you might spend a lot of time building a base and gathering resources, but then if you lose it, you lose it. Yeah. And that's a mentality that was no bueno when we were growing up. We grew up in an era where, losing everything you've done is something we got away from in the 90s. Like it used to be, if you died, you start the game over. Yep. And then, again, late 90s, early 2000s, we got away from that. And now we're kind of coming back to it. And I can only imagine the feeling if you're in this battle knowing that castle that you are defending, you just spent the last real life week with your friends building, right? We need to defend this because this is the thing we made.
Yeah.
This isn't some point on a map we'll get points for defending. Like, we chose how to lay out this castle. We chose where to build the arrow slits. We chose where to put the front gate, and we hope that this is all going to matter when the enemy team comes in. We have a plan in place, and
if they find out how to exploit our weakness, that we didn't see, it's our fault.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love having like direct agency in a game.
it's almost like some metas could develop in this kind of a game that
Yeah.
we may be discussing later.
Maybe. We'll see. Well, geez, yeah. I'm sold. I don't know necessarily about Foxhole. I do prefer this, like the medieval gameplay.
Yeah.
It really caters to my sensibilities. So
Same. Same.
But I mean, Foxhole might be worth looking into. I haven't played it or really seen any gameplay of it personally. So
It's a game that if you're going to look into it and you do pick it up, I highly recommend you find like a Discord group or something to join.
Sure,
So you can immediately get off the bat in a group or a clan. Because you just know these kind of games, you're going to get welcomed with open arms.
Yeah.
And as long as you're, being positive and not being an ass, you're going to find people you make lifelong friends with.
yeah, as long as you can read the room. Totally. Well, hey, Josh.
Oh yeah, no, I got something about reading the room here.
Yeah.
So over the last month, on some of the big game store internet storefronts, like not Twitch, Jesus Christ, that's what we're on. Like Steam and itch.io, they have been delisting adult content games. Now, the International Game Development Association, the IGDA, thinks this is actually a slippery slope. So one game in particular started this whole process off. Now, this game is called Mercy, and it is without any, as it turns out. There is rape and incest is part of the game, so very icky. No, gross. But the crappy thing is, and then this game getting taken off, it's kind of started like a satanic panic. Now, porn is always, I don't know what it is, but I'll know it when I see it, right? But porn's always been on the edge of acceptable in society.
Yeah.
And, there is plenty of legislation in some states about banning it altogether on the internet. So there's, that's out there. But where this particular push is coming from on the attack on the adult content games is actually from Visa and MasterCard and American Express payment services, because it doesn't agree with their values. And so they don't want to host the payments of anyone who sells these things that disagree with their values. Which
is funny because, I mean, they totally allow transactions to happen through major adult sites, which are just chock-a-block full of incest.
Family values.
I mean, yeah, right.
So, agreed. I don't think a game like Mercy doesn't sound like a game that, anybody should play. But again, free speech, form of expression. Now, where this gets sticky is there's a lot of adult content for protected classes, for queer and for people who have for kink positive, romantic and romantic narrative games. These are games that are easily caught up in this ban. That's why it's such
They always get lumped in.
Yeah.
They always get lumped in. And people are like, oh, well, it's mature content. But representation matters. And even in adult content, representation matters. So if a queer positive or a kink positive game gets caught up and banned in it, even though it doesn't break any rules, it's following all the practices of the game development site of being, it's legitimate in every way possible, well, then it should be allowed to be sold and people should be allowed to buy it, because God damn it, this is America. You should be able to buy as long as it's not, hurting anybody and it's not creepy. Like, I don't want to bring up.
That's subjective.
Subjective, right? But you should be able to buy adult content if you're an adult and that's what you want.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, MasterCard's still going to take they didn't mind taking the 8% charge a month ago.
Right.
So come off your high horse.
Yeah, I get it. Here's the thing. Where we have these kinds of crises, there's usually a good somewhere we can agree. Like the ESRB, for instance.
Sure.
Right? Like all we had to do was create our own rating system, in the games industry, in order for more adult games to be acceptable, right? Like if it says on the packaging that it's mature 17 plus, then as long as that's enforced, that should be fine. And I think there's a middle ground that we can find here, hopefully, with these people, with this group, that is like, it could be like, you have to download a separate Steam marketplace. Like there may be two versions of the Steam marketplace. One that has adult content and there's some kind of age verification required. And then one where there is no adult content, right? I'm sure there's a middle ground to be found here. I don't know personally what it is. Like, I don't personally like the age verification thing. I don't like giving as much of my information and identity to services that don't need it as possible. But there's got to be some middle ground, right? Like, because it is in conflict with free speech. It is in conflict with freedom of expression. Mm-hmm. And it is in conflict with whatever the fuck I want to do as a goddamn adult in this country that makes my own way. So I'm sure we can figure something out.
So to me, what is the most infuriating and the most alarming, and the IGDA, got it right the second time. Yeah. Is making the same statement here, is that this is a slippery slope, and if we give in here, well, suddenly payment processing things get to influence what stories are being told. And like, if they can do it here in video games, the largest and most productive and profitable source of media source right now, then they can do it everywhere. If suddenly it's like, AMC Theaters is hosting a documentary about X and Visa doesn't like it, so Visa's not going to take any payments for that movie there. It goes against my values. I don't want to take payments from that movie now. And that could be a very real reality if payment processing just is with no dialogue, no discussion in a change of how processing is going to be done. There's no transparency in the rules of a pay site, like the pay processing, how they decide to do things. There's no transparency there. They can just be like, nah, no, I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. And then you're screwed.
They've always had that power. They're just,
but now it's like
they're exercising it now.
And because payment processing companies are ubiquitous. It's again, like, what if Amazon just decided it didn't want to send packages anymore to anybody? Like, the world would we need it now, right? So I don't know. It feels this should be, even if you don't want to play mature adult content games, that's great. You don't have to, but other people who want to should be allowed to.
I think my opinion on the matter, I'm sitting here trying to put myself in their shoes. So these are human beings, right? And they're thinking, okay, so at the beginning, this group, one of them, if not the main one, is called Collective Shout. Australian group. I didn't gather what kind of a group they are. They decried GTA 5 back in 2014 when it came out for, how did they put it? The flagrant abuse of women in video games using sexual violence against female characters. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so there's people, you can't assume they're troglodytes or, outraged for no reason. And they want to remove what they see as access to the kind of ethical and moral things that we don't want to have in our society.
Yeah.
Right. So what do they do about it? Well, they do what they can. Right. And then it's very easily turns into, okay, so you don't want to see the abuse of women in GTA. Well, that's acceptable. That's understandable. I don't see you mentioning an abuse that happens against men. I mean, it's a bit of a straw man argument, but it's like it starts to become a slippery slope, right? And now we get to this point where they're talking about wanting to get rid of Detroit Become Human, which Quantic Dream has their own problems as a studio, but they reference a scene in Detroit Become Human where there's violence against women in the game that is shown as a sympathetic thing to show you this woman getting abused, and it's not something the game revels in. It's the opposite, right? So very quickly we start to lose any nuance and say, like Josh was saying earlier, like if we are going to remove any depiction about things that happen in real life that we don't want to happen, we remove the opportunity for us to use those things to explore them as an outlet, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to make a game, like imagine you are a person that has been abused in some way and you want to make a game about it and you depict your abuse, and then the game is about like how do you recover from that, whatnot. That is put under the same blanket as games that don't do that. And I can see and understand their desire to want to remove the things, but like you were saying, the method of which they're doing it has been tried many times, and it works temporarily, and then it doesn't work because it's not the method. You cannot use credit card companies to try to fix morals and ethics, especially in the world we're in today, right? I think if anything, I would surmise that, especially given Australian politics and where they've been, they're able to do this because of things getting so black and white, right? Could they have pulled this off under a different political climate? I don't know, but I get what they're trying to do. It's just this isn't the way to do it.
Yeah, nobody wants.
It's not going to work.
Nobody wants kids to have easy access to pornography and adult content and super violence and that stuff like stuff like that. There's a better way to go about reducing like harm reduction than outright banning it for everybody. There needs to be nuance in the discussion. I also think that these groups could do a better job of understanding the medium in which they are arguing against, because I imagine a lot of their feelings are video games are for children because that's their association. Why would there ever be adult-focused games, especially in sexualization? Why would the subject of rape ever need to happen? Because they equate video games to Super Mario Brothers and really nothing else. I think they need to do a better job of understanding the medium if they don't already. And I think there needs to we need to steer away from outright bans of adult content when adults are the largest segment of people that play video games now.
It sounds like it's a foregone conclusion. Some of these groups that are pushing this are American Christian nonprofit advocacy organizations that have stated things like comparing abortion to the Holocaust or describing gay marriage as a, quote, unspeakable offense to God. You're not going to get through these people. No. And I understand their plight. It's a pretty easy idea to put yourself where they're at. But again, this isn't going to work. It's not going to work long term. And it's not the right way to go about it. Yeah. There are better ways to protect children.
Right now, all you're kind of doing is demonizing yourself in my eyes. You're becoming a quick and fast enemy.
Like the only way for both parties to get what we want is for the adult content games to stay there. Because the simple fact is that there is no difference in their life whether that adult content game is there or not. As long as it's done through a legal process and is there, they can live their life 100% free of that game.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to come up. They don't ever have to play it. Their kids don't need to play it. However, if someone who really wants to, maybe it is a gender queer game that's helping someone open up and feel expressive in their body. Who the fuck knows? It's an experience for somebody. They don't get to have that now because someone's preference who wasn't going to play the game anyway, wasn't going to buy it anyway.
Yeah.
Now it's gone because they don't want it. Well, they didn't have to play it.
Yeah.
So the only fair way is for the adult content games to stay there. And that honestly, like, think about that with a lot of things because there's quite a few ways it goes about it. So
you know what?
Not
Fuck
just
them.
the
It's
video.
it's bored adults having
Yeah.
opinions where they probably shouldn't. Fuck them. Who gives a shit?
Should have had a hobby in
Yeah.
retirement.
I mean, honestly, like the more we talk
Get off
about it, the
the
more
TikTok.
fucking frustrated I am with it.
Yeah,
It's
like-
not in your zeitgeist. It's not for you. Totally get it. Like
Yeah.
you just don't have to be exposed to it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm advocating kind of hard for it, but I'm advocating for free speech and freedom of expression. Like, I mean, if you want to be a pervert, have at it, Haas. Like, that's your choice as an adult. Don't be illegal about it. That's it.
Yeah, for real. Don't break the law, asshole. Well,
Yeah.
this is a video game
speech.
podcast.
We have fun here.
We have fun. We have fun here. So, I played a game recently. The demo for Ninja Gaiden Ragebound just came out. This is a game that we talked about pretty recently. Kind of touted it for how awesome the graphics were. We've been talking about a lot about like 16-bit, 8-bit. Like that era is definitely coming back in force in like a AAA manner as well, because I haven't played now most of them have been indie recently, but a side-scrolling action game like this in a while.
Hey, you mentioned you played a game.
Yeah, this game was pretty fucking awesome. Now, I only got to play 3 levels of it, but Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is hard. Ninja Gaiden is known.
Ninja Gaiden
yeah,
game.
it's known to be hard, but this is to the point where like I think they hit a really good balance. I am not very good at this game, but I still felt fucking cool playing it. It's the kind of game where once you master the mechanics, and as long as you have a quick enough reaction time, which I have my doubts on whether I do or not, this game could become like a beautiful symphony, right? You could
yeah.
absolutely go through this game without ever having stopping forward progression, without ever not killing something, without ever not doing something cool. I am not that good, but I still
you felt
felt
like it.
fucking cool the whole time. So, this Ninja Gaiden does not feature Ryu. In fact, I don't remember what his name is suddenly, but a secondary character in the Ninja Gaiden universe.
Scott.
Yep. So you play as Scott.
Scott Hayabusa.
Scott Hayabusa. Well, you know what's funny is fucking Ryu has to go to America, and that's the reason he's not in this game. You are protecting home against demon invaders, of course, because that's what happens in Asia. Is demon invaders happen? It's just constant. But it's a 2D side-scrolling. God, it's a 2D side scroller. I mean, it's hard to classify it as a fighter, but in some cases, it kind of feels like it. It's
Fighter Metroidvania.
Yeah, I mean, dude. At the end of the day, it feels like fucking Mega Man, and it feels like the ninja version of Mega Man.
dope.
I enjoyed the bejesus out of it. Some cool stuff is like there is no double jump, but you can double jump.
I did see you bouncing off of things.
Right,
yeah.
it's called the guillotine boost. So there are objects, but in particular enemies that you can bounce off of. So if you hit the jump button a second time with an enemy near, you will then get a boost off of them. That takes place a lot, especially in later levels. Like there's a level where you have to stay in the air for almost the entirety of the level. Oof. It's pretty brutal, especially considering there are a lot more mechanics. For instance, the hypercharge. So there are 2 ways to get hypercharge. It lasts only a few seconds, but you can either hit an enemy with a hypercharge aura, which allows your next sword strike to be like a one-shot kill for most things, or severely damaging to like a boss type. You can charge that yourself, sacrificing health for hypercharge. You can do it it's like 20% of your health. It's not insubstantial. Which sometimes is required for killing some enemies. You'll see an aura around them where the hypercharge is required. Otherwise, they're massive, massive damage sponges. There's another version of it, which is the pink aura, which gives you a key ability, which allows you to use your ranged weapon, and it does pretty much the same thing, where it's a one-shot kill or does substantially more damage. So you're constantly thinking about that because you don't want to have to sacrifice your health in order to use a hypercharge most of the time. Instead, you would rather hit an enemy to gain a hypercharge and then use it on an enemy that requires a hypercharge for the damage. So there's constant thought. It's actually relatively complex on how you're going to strike an enemy, when you're going to strike an enemy, and what might be on the next part of the screen, because you might activate an enemy that comes in with hypercharge. So you always want to keep moving forward. You never want to stop, and the game really, really rewards you for not doing so. There's also a secondary character, Kumori. She's a black spider assassin, and I guess she's dead. But you go,
You can't play as her.
you play as her ghost. But she is essentially like the ranged combatant. You only spend a limited time as her, but she is essentially like, think of the morph ball, the Samus morph ball in Metroid. There are places that only she can reach due to her different abilities, which I think is really cool. So if you think about like playing Metroid and you have like a timer on how long you can use the morph ball to get through puzzles, it's that.
Okay.
So it's like morph ball hard mode, which is really cool. If you don't make it to the end goal, you do lose a little bit of health as Ryu, and you have to try again. The game is rather punishing, but you never find yourself having to go back to the beginning of the level. There are plenty of checkpoints throughout all the levels that I played. It is wickedly difficult, but this is a game that I felt so satisfied figuring something out playing in a way that I haven't felt in quite a long time. Because the puzzles not only can they be interesting and complex in and of themselves as puzzles, but having to perform mechanics within them makes them that much harder and that much more satisfying when you've got the control mastery down. Boss fights are really difficult. I only fought 2 bosses in the game, but one of them requires you to go through essentially like a hardcore enemy fighting gauntlet where like all of your attacks have to be hypercharged to get through before you can get to the boss. And that's where the save point is before that gauntlet. So you have to survive a whole gauntlet before arriving to the boss and then take down the boss, which requires its own mechanics. So it's really cool. I also noticed that through the couple playthroughs that I did of the first level is there are multiple ways to tackle an encounter, especially a boss encounter, which I think is really cool. There is likely in design a most optimum way to do it, but you feel cool doing the other one the whole time anyways. So I think they found a really good balance between really punishing difficulty without without being too punishing.
Yeah.
Also, the art is insane and awesome, and the guillotine boost is a clever thing that I like because I always prefer double jump in a game. So to give it a requirement for the boost to happen, I think is a really cool mechanic. I know it's been done before. Like even if you look at Sonic, right, as far back as Sonic, this one's just a little bit more interactive because you do have to press a button. It does have to be timed correctly. There's also, as far as platforming goes, it can be really difficult. I mean, there are some like pixel perfect jumps that you have to make and stuff. But yeah, man, I enjoyed it. I had like a hardcore fun retro blast. It was fantastic to play. I think I'm gonna be picking this one up. Like I often will play these demos and get enough out of it, but this one I had like an exceptional amount of fun playing. So might want to check it out. There is a demo for it available on Steam right now. You get 3 levels. The levels are not level 1, 2, and 3. They do push you further into the game, making the difficulty scaling pretty hard, especially for a demo. But I highly recommend picking it up if you're into these kinds of games at all. It takes a lot of what these games are at their core and embellishes them additionally, and I had a blast playing it. So that's Ninja Gaiden Ragebound.
It's nice to see. I mean, you think back last 5-10 years, we got Ori and the Blind Forest, Hollow Knight, the Castlevania remakes, Salt and Sanctuary, Hyperlight Drifter, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. There was a huge resurgence last 5-10 years of puzzle platformers, action platformers like this. And really, I think it's because it's a timeless format for video games. I mean, it's like where video games started, right? And we have learned a lot in the last 30, 40 years about what makes a good video game. And for the technology and the graphics capacity to become as ubiquitous and easy as it is for indie gamers to use, it's nice to see a more mainstream company attempting to remake this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of, like, if we think back to all the old formats of 80s and 90s video games that were, the soup du jour, I could see more of this happening because, like, it's if you have a good pixel artist and solid mechanics, it's not hard to remake some of these styles of old games that were the bread and butter. I mean, how long is it going to be before we see, like, Mario 64-esque remakes or Star Fox remakes? These games that, like, everybody played that, there's already some of them. There was like the ukulele and the PlayStation one that won all the awards. Like, that's basically Mario 64, So, no, it's nice to see that they've honed in a lot of stuff, and I could see as you were playing it, some of the stuff you were describing. Very good to see.
Yeah, man. And the game was a blast. Like, at the end of the day, I had, like, a lot of fun playing this game. I played the second level over again just to see if I could do it better, like, pretty much right away. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a blast, man. It can be a hard thing to get the mechanics down at first, but they do give you a pretty good tutorial in the beginning of the game for the base mechanics.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like the coolest Super Nintendo game ever.
Right? Yeah, that's there's been a few of those lately. Yeah.
So we may potentially be talking about this more, but I do have one more little article that kind of ties into our potential meta topic here. Is the idea of, let's see, I didn't close it, how to handle, like, toxicity in PvP games that are, like, team-based, right? So you think Overwatch, League of Legends, that kind of stuff. This particular post, I got mixed feelings about it, but I really liked the core concept behind it, and I think it does have some application. There's a lot of counterpoints in the comments, but I think the overall idea was kind of neat. We've all played games that have commendation systems. So you think Overwatch, you can thumbs up a player after a match. They do that in League, probably Dota. They do it in Smite, right? These well-intentioned but kind of half-hearted attempts at counteracting the toxicity that comes in a multiplayer competitive game where everyone needs to be at their best.
Yeah.
Right. And what you need to be at your best usually means you need to be better than you are right now, and you aren't, so you're not at your best. Right. Like, you need to know the game better. You need to play better. So how do you fix this? I don't think there's an easy answer. I don't think this is a solution, but it was certainly interesting. So this is a big, long Reddit post. I'm going to go through. I will be saying quote when I am trying to quote stuff directly, but I'm going to try to put it in a nutshell for you. So how do commendation systems work now, right? So you finish a match, and some games allow you to thumbs up a certain number of players. And what does a thumbs up mean? Well, it doesn't really mean anything. And then maybe it does. Maybe you can thumbs up somebody for being a good team player, or good at, being a guide for new players, or worked well as a team. These systems quickly fall apart as players realize that, what do I get out of thumbs upping anyone? How much effort is it? Is it something I need to do? And usually the answer to all those are bad. So it means that it's just something you click or ignore at the end of a match, right? Like Marvel Rivals had it, right? Like, and you can do it. It doesn't hurt, but you don't really see any benefit from it immediately. And the problem I think most players of the ilk that play these kinds of hyper competitive games care about, it doesn't matter, right? So the system this guy developed for, let's see here, he's a psychologist that worked for a video game company, Beta Dwarf. They're putting out a game, Vault Breakers, that seems fair to middling right now. It is not out yet. He said, how do we create kind of a commendation system that is deeper and works, right? So he asked, what is missing from team gaming? Quote, players should not feel the pressure of having to prove their worth every game. When party members are doing bad, you should have reasons to be on their side socially. You need to provide a greater feeling of social safety in speaking with new people you meet, and provide more validation and conversation starters for new people you meet, right? That's the goal. If you have a community, it used to be one way, and now there's so many people playing games that the idea of playing with randoms, friending with randoms, trying to get random people to join your team, it's so much effort when all you want to do is just play.
Yeah.
Right? So what he did was him and his coworkers attempt to create a system that had a bunch of layers that basically showed you social proof that you yourself provided or people that you trust provided. So here's an example. You join a game and it's going to be like a 8v8, for example, or something. And you look at each player and it says, this player is also friends with these other two mutual friends of yours. Or you gave this player great team play during this mission last month. Or this player has received commendations from 4 of your friends directly. Or this player has received commendations from 8 people that gave you commendations, right? This player's received nice communication from 2 people that you also gave nice communication.
Yep.
Lots of little subtle layers that as a player base builds, as guilds form and clans form, it all becomes mathematically rigged to give you actual concrete examples of why you would want to play with this player, right? We think about, how often do you run into the same player? Probably more than you think if you're playing a competitive game, but you can't keep track of all the names, right? But if something says you've played with this player on the same team 4 times and against him once, and 3 of those times you gave him a great teammate, you immediately feel more relaxed about like, okay, at some point I thought he was a great teammate. Yeah. I don't have to worry about this random sucking now, right? Yeah. And the whole idea of this isn't to have any kind of hard, mechanical, meaty, immediate benefit to your gameplay or the chance to increase your chance of success. It's to get over that initial anxiety and toxicity of having to play with someone that you probably aren't communicating with. You have no idea how well they're going to play. And the only thing you get to see mid-match or end-match is how well they did or when they fucked up, right? Because no one pays attention when your teammates are doing okay and well, right? It goes more and more into it. He explains how the clans and guilds work a little differently, how friendshipping and matchmaking works. And then he gives kind of a weird reason why essentially the economy collapsed. But Beta Dwarf is kind of taking parts of the system and rolling them into Vault Breaker from what I gathered. And I don't know, it just sparked the idea that I don't think commendation systems are a complete wash. I think that the state they're in now, they just like any attempt at trying to force players to do things usually goes poorly. But I think an idea like this could go farther.
Yeah.
If you created a web, a network of connections that very quickly would build up, I would feel so much better about seeing a person I didn't know and the game said 12 of your friends have given this player's commendations, right? That just means that, well, I bothered to friend those 12 people because they were worth playing with. I can inherently trust that this person is probably better than a random, right? Or
Totally.
at least he's going to be more of a team player.
Or if I'm playing, it says Nick rated this guy as a good communicator. It's like, okay, well, I'm probably going to get along with this guy at least.
Yeah. Really soft power there. It's not like something that is going to, like I said, change mechanically how you play. But I think the idea of attempting to tackle toxicity from a more ethereal sense might be a safer bet. Because how do you hard tackle toxicity? Well, you have to change the fundamental nature of how your game works. And that gets into our topic of what is meta in a game, right? Like what defines meta? What is meta for? Why is it happening now? What did it have in the past? And more importantly, in my mind, is it a problem and can it be fixed? So, just leading off of that, the idea that, you have a complex and intricate network of, ways to describe randoms you play with. Really quickly, what experience do you guys have? I mean, you have Overwatch and you have World of Warcraft. Is any other games that come to mind you think you've played recently or that you had a lot of effort in where meta and toxicity is kind of a thing?
Yeah, there's Apex Legends, there's Rainbow Six Siege, there's, honestly, almost any team-based multiplayer game.
Yeah, I mostly meant games you've played.
Oh, yeah. Well, I am talking about games that I've played. So, yeah, I experienced this quite a lot, and it's honestly turned me off toward team-based multiplayer games for a long time now. I haven't been doing that kind of PvP experience, and I've been avoiding those games because of the meta fatigue.
Well, and there's different kinds of meta, right? Like I feel like in games like Overwatch or Warzone or Apex, like games that I have played, if you're not using the meta, the people on your team or the people like you're playing with, like if they're randos, think you're throwing. They're like, oh, okay. And it's like, well, no, this is the gun combo like I used a month ago when I played the game, and it's like what I know. So I'm using that. And it's like, yeah, well, the gun combo now is the Falcon Dick Piercer. And if you're not using the Falcon Dick Piercer, you're
throwing the game.
You're throwing the game, and I'm going to call you a slur.
Yeah, and I'm having less fun because you aren't trying to win like I am.
Yeah, because you're not trying to win. It's like, well, I am trying to win because I'm playing with a weapon that I'm comfortable with and that I know what to expect.
Yeah.
And then there's sometimes it's like when I was playing Overwatch, it's like there would be times where Reinhardt got depowered, but Reinhardt's the tank I like to play, so I'm going to play Reinhardt. And you know what? Overall, I was a low platinum player, so it's not like it's like when people are like, "Oh, throw in," it's like, "Well, dog, you're a low platinum player too."
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like this is who I'm good at. All the other roles are filled. So do you want me to be a bad tank or to be a tank that's out of the meta that I know how to play?
Right.
But then there's less toxic versions of it because meta is if you take it all the way back, it's a Greek suffix meaning beyond or above, right? And it just means the best tactics and strategy, and they can be using anything from equipment, but there's Path of Exile isn't necessarily a team game but there's a meta to that, and if you're not doing the meta, then you're not playing the game correctly. One of our friends, a couple of them, play Path of Exile, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll play that, and they're like, no, don't.
Yeah.
You're not going to have fun. You won't like it. It'll be awful.
Especially, you would hate that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's things like a game that I do really like, Deep Rock Galactic. And now that's not I don't think a toxic experience like Overwatch can be, right? But it's meta. It does have a meta. I mean, honestly, Legend of Zelda, the Tears of the Kingdom probably has a meta. There's these items that are better, and there's a strategy to use. So I get it that there's a meta for most things, but I don't know, man, that toxic meta for that competitive team battle arena thing, that's yowza. It makes me not play those games. Yeah. And then then you add in the icky loot boxes and paying the battle pass I got to have every month if I actually want to have a thing, or then you add in all that other extra ick on top of it, and it's just I don't know, man. I don't know, and it maybe it's always been like that. Maybe games have always had a quote unquote meta.
Sure. But I think that it is exacerbated a lot by the popularity of gaming and the popularity of especially online PvP games. not only is it that, but I also think that a lot of it comes from you can make a living playing games now. And ideally, that's what we'd all be doing, right? If I could play games at home and make lots of money like XQC does, I would love to do that, right? I think there is that the fact that you can, in today's day and age, be a paid player in the online space for your level of skill in gaming breeds toxicity, because I think there are a lot of people.
It's awful.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people that are of the opinion that they are going to be that guy. If only I can be the best at this game, I will make a living from it. And I think that breeds a lot of toxicity in that unless put yourself in that person's shoes. If one of your teammates refuses to play a meta character or to use a meta weapon, right, then they're throwing your potential future, right? They are now responsible for your loss, which means that your ELO changes and not for the better, right? They are responsible for ruining your experience because you are experiencing this game for a different reason than another player is. You are trying to min-max to the utmost with a specific goal in mind. And the other players are ruining it for you. I think that's where a lot of the current meta toxicity comes from. And to me, it's extreme. It makes these games extremely unattractive to play.
Yeah.
I think you hit one of the nails right on the head. I personally have a different major nail. I think the problem inherently comes from a disconnect between the idea of playing a game for a certain experience and competing to win.
Yeah.
Games that are primary and inherently based around competition, where you are attempting to beat, win, or lose another player, work in real life in a way in that you have a physical body. Mm-hmm. I cannot change my loadout. I cannot change my class or my character in real life if I'm going to go learn a sport or chess or something. I just have to practice and get better, right? So you're not going to see a level of meta applied in the way it is in a video game where it's like you are choosing what someone views as an inferior choice that requires zero effort on your part to switch. Mm-hmm. Like if this character is the meta, why aren't you playing that character? There's a whole slew of problems with that. Namely, number one, meta choices, like I mentioned before the cast, in my opinion, equate to maybe 5 to 10% of your capacity.
Agreed.
Right? I just looked it up. There's easily over 100 items in Smite, and there's over 130 gods. If you don't know the fundamentals of how each of those items works and how each of those gods works, how to play against them and counterplay against them, I don't care if you're playing the best god. You're going to get your shit kicked in, mm-hmm. pardon my language, because you don't have a fundamental understanding of the core meat of the game. If you haven't practiced rotations and boss fights or certain movement techniques and stuff like Marvel Rivals, all these things, aim training, they have so much more of an impact on how good of a player you are than picking the character that might have a 0.4% higher win rate than another character, mm-hmm. right? If you imagine your skill in a game as a series of like 10 dials that go from 0 to 10, the first dial is 50% of your skill. And it's just like, have you put in like 30 hours into this game yet, right? Have you understood the core game loop, right? Do you understand the basics of how that game works? Cool, you can max that dial out. The next one is like learning the characters and roles and common items that fit well into common situations. All the way at the very end, the tiniest dial, right? Or at least the last 2 dials maybe is your meta pick, right? It's like going into like weight training for the first time or exercising and asking your personal trainer you just bought, I've been looking at 3 different brands of Nike shoes to see which one provides me the correct support for my foot. So I was like, dog, you don't even know how to pick up a kettlebell yet, right? Slow down, right? And I think because these games are inherently not about playing a game to have fun or not playing a game to develop teamwork, which is like Deep Rock Galactic, right? Because it's not PvP.
Yeah.
They don't have that competition element in there. You inherently cut off that level of toxicity from the meta. The moment the game is I win, you lose, zero-sum result, you're gonna have these metas be, in players' minds, so much more important. Because again, getting back into their shoes, how hard is it for you not just to choose the meta pick? Well, maybe I'm not playing to be the best player. Like, I know I'm not the best player, right? I know that I just got off work and I want to sit down and have fun because I enjoy this game. And those times when I do get a win feels great. And I know I'm going to lose. Me picking this particular character because the last patch buffed him by 2% isn't going to change how I enjoy my game.
Yeah.
But the inherent problem comes that I'm playing the same game as the person who views it differently.
Yep.
Right? And until we find a way to make games that can be competitive but not competitive, right, we're going to have this toxicity problem tied to the meta.
Yeah.
Until then, like you were saying, meta applies to so many product categories, it's kind of hard to pin down what's even worth talking about. You know, single-player games have metas. Like, is it a meta to speedrun a game? Is it a meta to be the most efficient through the game? You know, but yeah, I really think meta really just comes down to, most importantly, competitive games.
Yeah.
So
I think you bring up a really good point, and I think, honestly, if you are playing the meta and you aren't the ELO that you desire, maybe you just fucking suck.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
Pick a different goddamn game. You're just addicted. At this point, you're playing a game. If you're throwing your controller and you've spent 2,000 hours playing this game and playing the meta and you still don't have what it takes, then you won't ever. You have practiced to the point of your own limits. And I think there are so many people that are in that spot that will still screech and yell at another player for not playing a meta pick when they themselves are not capable of doing better.
And ask yourself this. If you're listening to this podcast, you're a gamer, you've probably played a few dozen competitive games, right? There are thousands out there. Yeah. So the answer might be that you need to play a game that has different fundamental gameplay mechanics that you might do better in, because the chances are you haven't played the game that you are potentially the best in. 2, reformat your thinking, right? Like, if you've sunk a lot of time into a game, like you said, and you're not, platinum, diamond, jerk off level 9,000, then you've probably hit a soft or hard cap on how good you're going to get at the game. Reevaluate why you're playing the game. Right? If you're just playing it and you're getting frustrated every time, you're wanting something the game isn't going to give you. Is that what you were trying to essentially get at?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Find something else.
Find something else. And just remember, the coolest thing that's ever happened in the history of your favorite game by your favorite esports player is they beat the meta.